The abandoned dog was sold for $1. No one suspected what the little girl was doing. It was broken, covered in blood and recognized as useless to anyone. On a noisy farmer's action, old German shepherd sat in a rusty cage with his head bowed. No one made a single bet. Until a girl of about 6 in a bright purple sweatshirt came out from behind the backs of adults. In her small hand trembled crumpled dollar. "I want him," she said. Silence fell on the barn. Even the wind stopped when the child took a step towards the cage where the forgotten heart sat. Lina clutched her crumpled dollar as if her life depended on it. Her father was standing behind, confused. He had come to the fair to show his daughter Pony, but he hadn't expected her to fix her eyes on the dirty, an exhausted dog behind bars. "Lina is dear," he said quietly. "He is sick, old, maybe even dangerous." But the girl did not listen. Her eyes were fixed on the shepherd. The dog did not move, only watched her with cloudy eyes, who still had a spark not of hope, but of habitual pain. The crowd around looked at each other, someone grinned. Someone averted his eyes. $1, the auctioneer repeated lazily. No one. Tfashina. Only the sound of footsteps and the smell of hay. "I'll give you $1. Suddenly a thin voice sounded. "That's it," we turned. The man with the microphone lowered his eyes and saw. Girl, do you understand what you are doing?" She nodded. "I want him to live." The crowd fell silent. Someone squawked. Someone said quietly, "Tom, let him try." The auctioneer shrugged. "Sold." For $1, Lina stepped toward the cage. My heart was pounding in my ears. She knelt down, carefully. She stretched out her hand between the bars. "Hello," she whispered. Now the dog trembled with you, then slowly tilted his head and touched her fingers. His breathing was heavy. The fur clung to the skin from blood and dirt, but for the first time in a long time, he did not recoiled. Lina smiled. Her father stood nearby, not knowing what to say. At that moment, he realized that this dog was no longer just a dog. It was the beginning of something that would change both of them forever. When the cage was opened, a soft creak was heard. Metal and the heavy sigh of the crowd. The dog, as if not believing that the bars had receded, slowly stood up. Its hind leg trembled. His eyes remained alert. The girl held out her hand, but did not hurry. She just stood nearby, letting him make his own choice. He stepped forward. First one cautious step, then the second. And suddenly, as if realizing that no one was going to hit or push, the dog approached and poked his nose into her palm. Lina smiled, timid, but with some amazing calmness, uncharacteristic of a child. "We will take him away," she said to her father, not even raising their heads. "Lina, he's injured," the man replied softly. "He needs real help." "Then we will help," firmly, she said. The crowd parted as they left the barn. The dog limped, but followed the girl, as if he already knew that. Can trust. People saw them off with their eyes, some with a smile, some with shame. One of the men holding his hat in his hands muttered softly, "Little heart, she is a whole world about courage. It's windy outside." Chased away the dust and the smell of grass. A woman in a white coat, a veterinarian, who had come to inspect the horses, was standing near the old pickup truck. "He's feeling bad," Lina said, her voice trembling. The woman sat down next to him, looked into the dog's eyes. "He has a chance, but we need to go to the clinic urgently." Lina's father nodded. "We'll go with you." Thus began the road about which no one knew where it would lead. The dog was lying in the back seat. The girl's head rested on the girl's lap. Each. Once when the car bounced on a bump, Lina stroked it behind his ear. "It's all right, CH," she whispered. "Everything's going to be all right. Here." He didn't answer, but his breathing became more even. The veterinarian worked in the clinic for a long time. It was dark outside. "Father." Lina was sitting in the corridor, holding his daughter in his arms. She was awake. Her eyes were red, but she did not move away. Finally, the door opened. The woman took off her gloves and smiled tiredly. "He will live. He needs time, but he is a fighter. Lina is quiet." I sighed, as if I had only now allowed myself to breathe. "Does he have a name?" she asked. "No," said his father. "Then I'll name his Chance," the girl said. "Because I gave him a chance." The doctor smiled. "Suitable. Chance. A beautiful name for a new beginning." That night, Lina fell asleep, holding the dog by the paw. His breath sounded close to him, like a promise that they would now fight together against everything that had made him so broken. A week passed. Every day, Lina came to the clinic in the morning, as soon as she finished breakfast. She sat next to a cage where the Chance now lay, clean, well-groomed, with a bandaged paw. His eyes were no longer hidden in the shadows. A light appeared in them, cautious, but real. Sometimes he would put his head on her lap, and sometimes he would just lie there listening to her tell him stories. "You know, Mom says that the good is returning," she whispered. "Maybe you'll be lucky now, too." Veterinarian, Dr. Clara. I watched them with a smile from behind the glass partition. She couldn't explain why a dog that barely. They pulled me out of the other world. Suddenly I began to recover at an incredible speed. "He has a reason to live," she told Lina's father. "Sometimes that's enough." One day, Clara invited Lina to cabinet. "Do you want to see something?" she asked, and raised her Chance paw. Look, on the inside of the dog's thigh, under the lined hair, there were faded numbers. Old tattoo. "This is a military marker," the doctor explained. "He served as a soldier." Lina was surprised. Yes, judging by the code, he was a search dog. Perhaps he saved people. The girl's father frowned. "But why did he end up here?" Clara sighed. "Sometimes, when service dogs are lost during surgery, they are written off as dead. It seems that this guy survived, but did not return home." Lina looked at Chance. Now she saw not just a dog, but something more in him. History, pain, devotion. She ran her hand over his wool and quietly said, "He's a hero." A couple of days later, the story of a girl who bought a dog for $1 appeared in local newspaper. The photo where Lina held the Chances by the paw instantly went viral on social networks. People wrote, "A small heart with a big soul. Camera is still not lost." The clinic's phone was ringing. Volunteers and journalists, even former military men called, asking if they could help. And then one day Dr. Clara came into the office with a letter. "Lina," she said, "you need to read this." The letter was from a man named David Hoffman. He wrote, "If this dog really has a tattoo with a number D349, so this is my partner. His name was Rex. 3 years ago, he saved my life. We thought he was dead. If he's alive, I'll come. Lina." I reread the letter several times. "Will he come for him?" she asked in a whisper. Her father put his arm around her shoulders. "I think, and you know, it's right." The girl was silent for a long time, then quietly said, "I don't mind. The main thing is that he is happy." And from that day on, Lina began to prepare the Chances for the meeting. She taught him commands, took him for walks, baked cookies and brought them to him. Pieces in a cloth bag. Chance followed her on her heels, as if he knew something was about to happen. Important. When the veterinarian said that David would come tomorrow, Lina did not sleep all night. She sat by the cage, stroked the dog and whispered, "Naya, don't be afraid, he's good. He's your man." Chance sighed softly, resting his muzzle on her lap. And somewhere inside, the girl felt, this moment is going to change everything. The day of the meeting came gray and windy. The clouds are low, hung over the city, and it seemed that the sky itself held its breath. Lina stood at the gate of the clinic, clutching an old the blue ribbon that was going to tie the collar of Chance. "Ready?" she asked. The dog looked at her from below. Top. The tail trembled slightly. It was as if he felt that everything would change today. A few minutes later, an old dark green car stopped at the side of the road. A man with gray temples slowly stepped out of it. He leaned on his cane. His steps were heavy, but there was something deep in his eyes, as if he was looking for a lost part of himself. "It's him," whispered Dr. Clara. The man looked at the dog, and at the same second, the air seemed to freeze. Chance rose warily. Then he blinked, as if he recognized the smell. His ears rose, his tail froze, and suddenly he took off, limping, but with each speeding up for a second, he rushed towards the man. "Rex," David whispered, his voice trembling. They met in the middle of the courtyard. The dog rose on its hind legs and buried its nose in his chest. The man knelt down, hugged him, closing him eyes. "Are you alive?" he gasped. The crowd at the gate, including the clinic staff, froze. "Somebody." I cried. Someone was filming on the phone. Alina just stood there, holding the ribbon and smiling through her tears. David looked up and met the girl's eyes. "Did you save him?" he asked. She nodded. "I just paid $1. The man grinned, blinking with tears. "Sometimes $1 is worth a lifetime." They took place in building. Dr. Clara told David about the treatment, about how Lina came every day, how the dog stopped being afraid. He listened without taking his eyes off Rex. "Now it's a chance. He's always been a fighter," he said quietly. On missions, he found people under the rubble, rescued the wounded, and then an explosion. "I thought he was torn apart. When I woke up, I was told that the dog did not survive." "He survived," Clara said, "and now she is home again." In the evening, the three of them. We were sitting on the porch of the clinic. Lina stroked the Chance. David held a mug of coffee in his hands, was silent. "I don't know how to thank you," he finally said. "You didn't just give me back a dog, you gave me back a part of my soul." Lina looked at him seriously. "I think it belongs to you," she said. "He was waiting for you." The man smiled, but something soft flashed in his eyes. "You know, I think it belongs to both of you now." They agreed that David would have a chance to live, but Lina would be able to visit his. The next day, their story spread throughout the country. Journalists, volunteers, veterans wanted to see everything. The girl who bought a war hero for $1. The photo where the Chance stands between Lina and David has become a symbol of hope. Soon Lina was invited to the ceremony. The mayor of the city personally presented her with a medal engraved with words for compassion and the strength of the heart. When she went on stage, the girl was a little confused. There were many adults in the hall, the flashes of the cameras were blinding. But then she saw a familiar silhouette at the entrance. Chance stood next to David, proudly with his head held high. "I just don't could pass by," Lina said into the microphone. "If I hadn't given him $1, I would have given him at least a hand, because no one should be alone." The hall stood up. The applause was long and sincere. When the ceremony was over, Lina walked up to the chance. He licked her palm, and the girl put her arms around his neck. "Now we have. You are two houses," she whispered. At that moment, even adults realized that heroes do not always wear uniforms. Sometimes they come to the world in a bright purple sweatshirt with $1 in her hand and heart, which simply does not know how to pass by someone else's pain. Since then, Lina's life has changed. Every Saturday she and her father went to David's house in the country, to the house with the white fence and the big apple trees where the chance now lived. As soon as the car drove up to the gate, the dog was already rushing towards him, limping. But with a joyful bark he jumped up to the line. Clung to her as if he was afraid of losing her again. The girl was laughing, and David was watching from the window, and his face lit up with a smile, quiet, tired, but happy. The three of them spent their days together, walking in the fields, teaching Chance a new trick, sometimes just sitting on the veranda listening. Wind. A special bond developed between Lina and David. It was as if there was an invisible bridge between them, built out of gratitude and warmth. One evening, David handed the girl a small pendant in the shape of a paw. "This is for you," he said. "A reminder that the good you have done does not disappear. It lives on." Lina clenched the pendant in her hands. "And you also saved him once?" she asked. David nodded, "Yes, but now he's saved me again." "Only already." The sun set differently, flooding everything around with soft gold. Chance lay at their feet, with his head on his paws. His eyes were calm, like someone who has finally found his home. Later, when the news came that Lina's story inspired hundreds of people donated money to the shelter, her father could not help crying. "You see," he said, embracing his daughter. "Sometimes a good decision changes more than just one life." "I know," she replied, "but I just wanted him to live." A week later, Lina and her class went to the orphanage. The girl told her classmates about the chance, showed photos, and then approached the cage, where another one was trembling. A dog, a small black puppy with big eyes. She sat down and smiled. "Hi, I'm Kalina. And I think I know how it all begins." Several months passed. Winter quietly came into its own. Snow fell on the trees, on the fence, on the roof of David's house. Lina came again. She ran to the porch, and a chance rushed to meet her. Leaving footprints on the white nastia, he ran up, pushed her with his muzzle and climbed her cheek, and then flew straight into the snow. The girl was laughing, and David was standing at the door, looking at them with that expression that was all gratitude, tenderness, and quiet admiration. "You understand," he said later, as they sat by the fire. "If it weren't for you, we wouldn't both be. And if it weren't for him, I wouldn't know what real kindness is," Lina answered. The chance lay between them, warm, calm, happy. The flames were reflected in his eyes, and he seemed to understand everything too. When Lina was leaving, David said, "That $1 was the most valuable thing that ever existed." She nodded and hugged him. "And I think it was just love." The snow continued to fall, covering the footprints of their footsteps. The world around was quiet, as if after a miracle. And somewhere in this silence, there was a simple truth: by saving someone, we save ourselves.